Hi, this is Australia. Just wanted to once again clarify this is not me being pretentious or anything. I initially started this whole thing about Songwriters Challenge because I just stopped and thought I need to push myself and finally go ahead and do some stuff with some music I've been writing. I've been writing all my life, but finally decided to go ahead and do this thing because nothing else gives me that much joy, and I don't seem to be as happy unless I'm around other musicians and artists. Out of all the other things I do creative, that's the biggest thing. But I figured I wanted to share the gift once I started doing some stuff. I said, well, dang, what motivates me and what gives me inspiration may help somebody else who has writer's block. And of course, over the years, there's been different artists that have motivated me to write certain things, inspired things. So I've had a fantasy for a long time that some of the songs I've written specifically for certain voices, like one of my wedding songs, I wrote that one with Luther Vandross's voice in mind, but he passed away. Obviously, he won't get to sing the song. But I stopped and thought about some of the other songs I've written. I said, it'd be great if some of these people are still around. It'd be great if they get to hear it, they like it, and want to do something with it. I think that's every songwriter's dream. It's not about the money with me. It's just a lifelong fantasy. But once again, I want to perpetuate the motivation. But here's the thing. Today, I want to go ahead and pitch out there that I'm going to start putting out some of the music that I've done. I'm going to go ahead and first off, I want to share some of the lyrics because the idea of the Songwriters Challenge is to get an idea how somebody else would work on the music or how they would do the lyrics. Because everyone is motivated to write from something different. I write from anything. I can write from beats. I can write from somebody give me a theme, a storyline, and written out in prose, a poetry. I can write from. I write from different sound effects. When I'm playing different keyboards, the different sounds speak to me. It's always been the case. Every time I went to a keyboard store, the different sounds they say, play me this way. It's just weird like that. So I don't run out of ideas. And nowadays you can sample things and slice stuff up and come out with new sound effects. Man, it's limitless what you can do. So with that, I want to share some of the ways that I come up with ideas. But I'm going to start off really simply, though, with one that deals with looking at how an artist talks about whatever subject. A lot of times we listen to music for ambient noise. I get it, and it's just relaxing. But every now and then it speaks to you, and you dig a little deeper, and you say, well, Dag, I remember I went through that, or I knew somebody who went through that. And sometimes it's something a little bit different, with the story, because not everybody's story is not exactly the same. So think about, times when you heard a song, you said, well, Dag, I kind of wish it had said this part or at this part. There's an idea for a lyric right there. Think about, I took a poetry writing class and some other creative writing classes, and one of the books I looked at was talking about speaking from a different character's perspective. The story was originally written from a narrative sake or one particular character, but then the teacher said, okay, what I want you now is write from this other character's perspective. Okay? Like we're talking about the pet rock. Okay, if the pet rock could think, something crazy weird. But the reason why I'm going there is because of this. Every song is basically a sort of a story. Well, most of them are. And I thought about like the Garth Brooks song, Thunder Rolls. And he talks about the guy comes home and the wife realizes he's been out cheating. And I thought about, well, what happens after that story? What happened before the story? What led up to that? When did they become all of this? Does the guy not realize that she's got a dad somewhere? She's got a brother somewhere that's going to take care of business after he does what he does to her. You thought about all these different type of stories. I'm like, wait a minute. Now I know there's songs written like that, but someone may not have thought about, hey, let's look at it from that angle. That might be a set of lyrics to work on. So I think from now on, like I said, I want to initially go ahead and give you some lyrical ideas. I'm going to always start and put out some of the lyrics I've actually written. And without just saying them, I just want to go ahead and just give the lyrics and just get an idea if they speak to you musically. And some people look at something based on how they read the syncopation of the melody, not the melody, but the rhythm of the rhyme scheme. They'll say, okay, it seems like it should dance this way or go this way. So they'll write it a certain way. So I may put the lyrics out written that way, or in this case, I'm thinking about writing them up in prose. You set them up in paragraph format, and that way everybody will look at it totally differently as far as figuring out, okay, where should I splice and cut this at? What part should be repeated as a verse as a chorus or whatever. So the song I want to share first off is called Beyond Moments in Love. And that was my particular wedding song that I wrote. Did a few wedding songs, but that one in particular I sang at my wedding. And I want to share with you real quick, it was inspired initially by listening to Luther Vandross Here and Now. And something just said, if I were going to speak on that subject, if I'm making my vows, because I already written something that was vows, it was a poem, but it wasn't a song. I said, man, if I was going to do that, how, what would I say? And I was having problems at first trying to figure out how to, what I would write. But during the time that song came out, there was a few other songs that was out in the day, back in the day, that really, were really popular. One is called Moments in Love, which is by Art of Noise. And it's real popular. If you hadn't heard it, Google it. Trust me, you probably heard it. Newer generation may not be sure, but it's real popular. Piano in the Dark, which is by Brenda Russell. I love Brenda Russell. And also another version of it done by Alex Bouillon, spelled Bugnon, for those who don't know who he is. Great jazz pianist. Got to see him live one time. That's pretty cool. And another song is When I Give My Love to You by Brenda Russell and Michael Franks. These songs, I mashed them together in a sense as to where all my inspiration came out from writing my own wedding song. And the idea behind it was, okay, beyond the moment in love. And people tend to take a lot of songs these days, I don't want to call anybody lazy, but bottom line is it's really easy to take something and loop it and make a song from that. I'm not knocking anybody. You do what you do for a reason why you do it. But I love the idea of thinking back in the old days, back before me and in the younger days. The idea was that we would listen to other artists, we'd be inspired by them, and we take little hints of their music and their style, and you can tell that we were inspired by them, but it didn't sound like you stole their music. These days, some people get permission, some people don't, and you put out things that are basically plagiarized in a lot of cases. And I don't want to do that, but I want to take a little hint of where I get an idea from and then flow from there. My song begins with a little hint of Moments in Love. It's not a sample of it. It's not a loop. It's 3 notes, and then after that, the whole melody is totally different. So I do that just for a mental buzz. Like you hear sound effects like a boing, it sounds like a spring. If you hear da 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 da, we know the shark came. And of course, you got the Darth Vader. You hear certain sounds, the life motif. You know that the character's coming on. Likewise with music, you can drop little hints, and that one little hint speaks volumes. I don't need to play the whole entire song. If you hear, You Can't Hide Love, the beginning of that, you know what that is. It's just different songs. But bottom line is I took a little hint from Moments in Love, and the idea was to write a song about what happens after the moment. We all got the intimacy and everything, but what happens after that? The promise, is it real? Where's the proof to all that? And at the time I was learning how to play piano, and I would always play slow because I was just learning. So Piano in the Dark was a slow song. And When I Give My Love to You, I was in love with Michael Franks and Brenda Russell's music. Always have been. So those 4 songs all got mashed up in my inspiration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish the actual lyrics so that you all can see them and get some feedback on what y'all think about them. And if anybody is actually out there is inspired by reading poetry and get an idea, hack away at it. Let me know if you get some vibes, you think you might want to do something with it. And later on, I'll go ahead and post the music and see how that flows with you. But thank you again. This is Australia, and this is Sid Zone's Songwriters Challenge. Thank you.